Chapter 12. The Payment. Antias rode back to his estate like demons were chasing him. 2 weeks. He had 2 weeks. The vault first. He descended the stone steps, unlocked the heavy door with hands that shook slightly, and stared at what he had. Not much. 23 gold pieces, some silver, a handful of copper. Nowhere near enough. But there were other things. Things that could be turned into money. His grandmother's jewellery. 2 complete sets, one in emeralds and gold, ornate and impressive if a bit dated. Another in rubies and silver, simpler but still valuable. He packed them carefully, left only 3 rings behind. His parents' wedding bands, simple gold. His grandmother's diamond engagement ring, the one his grandfather had given her 60 years ago. He'd need those for later, if he got the money. He locked the vault, went to the stables. 6 horses, he only needed 2. Maybe 1 if he was honest, but the old horse that had once been his father's would not fetch much and had earned his retirement. The tack room had extras, saddles, bridles, good leather, well maintained, all of it could go. Lord Matten admired the grey mare. She's beautiful. She is, Antias agreed, but I've found something I want more. Matten raised an eyebrow. More than this mare? She's worth at least 15 gold. I know. I'll take 10. 10? Are you? 10. Today. Now. Matten studied him. You're serious. Very. Matten grinned. 10 gold it is. The horse you want must be something special. The transaction took an hour. Matten counted out the gold carefully. Antias pocketed it and moved on. Lord Harwick bought the bay gelding for 8 gold. Sir Garrett took the chestnut mare for 11. Lord Corwin bought 2, the matched pair of roans, for 18 together. Antias sold the extra tack with the horses, everything together. He collected every copper and counted it obsessively. 47 gold pieces total from the horses. Add the 23 from the vault, 70 gold. Still far short. The jewellery. He couldn't sell the estate, couldn't borrow more against it. He'd already leveraged what he could for improvements last year. He rode to the city, found a reputable jeweller. I need to pawn these. He set the cases on the counter. The jeweller opened them, whistled softly. These are... This is exceptional work. Old, but... How much? To buy outright, I could give you 40 gold for the lot. Antias's chest tightened. To pawn. 20? With the option to buy back at 25 within a year. Antias stared at the jewellery. His grandmother's. The pieces she'd worn to every important occasion. His mother had worn the rubies. He couldn't sell them. Couldn't lose them permanently. 20 to pawn, he said. I'll be back for them. Of course, my lord. The transaction completed. Another slip of paper. Another debt. Antias counted his gold again. 90. He needed 100. He was 10 short. He stood in the jeweller's shop and wanted to scream. So close, so impossibly close. He could pawn something else. The rings, his parents' wedding bands. No, he couldn't. He needed those. Think, there had to be something. Someone. Lord Rader. Antias rode to Rader's estate, arrived after dark, was admitted because he was a friend, and you didn't turn friends away even when they showed up unannounced looking half wild. Lord Rader, I need a favour. Rader looked him over, took in the dust, the desperation, the careful way Antias was holding himself together. What kind of favour? 10 gold. I need 10 gold. I can pay you back in spring with interest. Why? Antias stopped. I need it. Please. Rader leaned back. You look terrible. What happened? I can't. I just need 10 gold. I'll pay you back. 12 gold in spring. 15 if you want. I don't need your money. Rader studied him, then smiled. Slow. Knowing. But I'll give you 10 gold for something else. Rader's smile widened. You're scrambling for money like a desperate man. You look like you haven't slept in days, and you're asking me, specifically, for gold." He leaned forward. "It's her, isn't it? The guard, the one who put you on your back." "What do you want?" Antias asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "The whole story. I am an old man. I will die soon. I will take it to my grave. No need to be embarrassed." Antias wanted to tell him to go to hell, needed the money more than his pride. He surrendered. "Fine, I'll tell you." And he did. He told Reda everything. The tournament, the guard, the lady, the jester, the bucket, the ginger tea, the fear, the guilt. The old man was genuinely delighted. "This is the best story I've heard in years. I'll give you 10 gold. No interest, no repayment necessary. In exchange for an invitation to the wedding. Consider it an early wedding present. I want to meet the woman who brought a haughty knight to his knees properly." "Deal," he said quietly. Reda laughed. Actually laughed. "Outstanding. I'll get the gold." He returned with a small purse, counted out 10 gold pieces. Antias took them, pocketed them carefully. "Thank you." "My pleasure, truly." Reda was still grinning. "I can't wait to meet her." 2 days before Yule, Antias was back at the castle. One horse, the sturdy old bay gelding that had been his father's. Slow with age at 20 but still healthy and sound. The other, his personal tournament horse, was back at the estate, the only luxury he'd kept. The chest of gold was strapped carefully to his saddle. 100 pieces. Exactly. He'd counted 3 times before leaving. He stabled the bay, carried the chest himself. Went to the king's study. Knocked. "Enter." Antias opened the door. The king was at his desk, reading something. And Yvonne. Yvonne was sitting in the window seat, where the jester used to sit. Not in costume, just herself. Wearing a simple dress, brown hair loose. She looked up when he entered. Their eyes met. Antias looked away, focused on the king. Couldn't look at her. Not yet. Not until... He set the chest down on the desk, carefully. 100 gold pieces, he said, voice steady. As agreed. The king opened the chest, looked inside, counted silently, nodded, stood, walked to the door, opened it, looked back at Antias, at Yvonne. "Settle it," he said simply, and left. Chapter 13. The Settlement. The door closed. Silence. Antias stood frozen for half a breath. Then he moved, crossed the room in 3 strides, dropped to his knees in front of the window seat. Yvonne stared at him. He pulled the ring from his pocket, his grandmother's ring. Diamond. Simple. Beautiful. Held it up. "Marry me." She blinked. "What?" "Marry me. Properly. I want..." His voice shook, steadied. "I want a chance to do this right. To be a husband. If I'm very lucky, a father. I want you. All of you. Not because my grandfather sold you. Not because I have to. Because I want to." Yvonne looked at the ring. At him. At the ring again. "I've been sold 3 times now," she said slowly. "That's not usually how it works." "I don't care how it usually works. I'm asking. Will you marry me?" She was quiet for a long moment. "What would you do if I said no?" His hands tightened on the ring, started shaking. "I don't know. I suppose I'd do what my father did. Take oaths. Become a priest. Live quietly somewhere and try not to think about what I lost." The shaking got worse. He was terrified, trying desperately to stay brave, to not beg, to give her the choice she'd never had before. "You'd honour it?" she asked quietly. "If I said no?" "Yes." No hesitation. "I wouldn't. I couldn't trap you. If you don't want me, I'll figure something out. For you. For the baby. But I won't force you." Yvonne looked at him, at the man on his knees shaking with fear and hope and desperation, at the ring he held up to her like a prayer, at the choice he was giving her. She leaned forward, kissed him. Yes. Antias's eyes lilt. Yes? Yes, you idiot, put the ring on. He did, hands still shaking. Slid it onto her finger, it fit perfectly. His grandmother's hands had been small too, and then he was pulling her into his arms, and she was laughing and he was kissing her, and neither of them heard the door open. I take it we have an agreement? They broke apart, looked up. The king stood in the doorway, looking entirely unsurprised. Yes, Antias said, still holding Yvonne. Yes, She said yes. I gathered. The wedding will be in 3 days. My brother wrote, apparently he is owed an invite to the wedding. Yvonne laughed against his shoulder. Soon enough? No. Terrified that you'll change your mind? Not going to. Good. The king cleared his throat. So now we make the story work. Story? Antias looked up. You didn't think I'd let you two get married without a plausible explanation, did you? Torvin smiled. Thin. Sharp. The jester died. Tragically. From his illness. Very sad. Yvonne made a face. I'm not dead. The jester is, as of today, your Lady Yvonne, my ward, who my foolish grandson has entirely shamelessly seduced and ruined. Absolutely despicable behaviour. He was clearly trying not to laugh. Oh no, Yvonne said flatly. Oh yes. I'm marching you two to the temple with my walking stick. Very scandalous, very rushed, because... He gestured vaguely at Yvonne's stomach. Time is ticking. The baby will arrive early. No one will question it. Everyone saw you two at the celebrations. They'll just think the old man finally caught up to young folks' indiscretions because of the consequences. They'll be right, Antias said. Exactly. Which makes it perfect. The kernel of truth in a lie that makes the whole thing believable. Torvin moved to his desk. My brother and his wife will be here visiting for the Yule. Happy accident. Someone respectable needs to witness the disgrace. They are on their way already. The king picked up his pen. Now get out, both of you. Try not to look too happy about it anywhere in public, please. 3 days later, Lord Redder and Lady Lyanna arrived. The story spread through the castle like wildfire. The jester's death went almost unnoticed in the scandal. The king's ward, that mysterious Lady Yvonne, no one had ever met, but had been supposedly living in the castle for the past year in secret, had been caught in a compromising position with the king's grandson. They had been having an affair for months, apparently. She was the lady on his lap at the tavern, the one he was seen with at the celebrations, sneaking out of the castle despite the king's orders to stay out of trouble to party with the charming knight. They had been very reckless indeed. There was going to be a baby. The king was furious. The wedding was happening immediately. The procession to the North Star Temple was memorable. Antias walked in front, Yvonne beside him in a clearly hastily acquired gown. The king behind Antias, walking stick in hand, occasionally using it to whack Antias on the head when he smiled too broadly. 2 guards flanked them, looking very serious and holding spears as if Antias was a flight risk. Lord Redder was trying not to laugh. Lady Lyanna looked scandalized. She was better at acting than the rest. Antias looked absurdly, ridiculously happy despite the stick, trying to remind him of his supposed misery. The king hissed from behind. Try to look miserable, you fool. You're being forced to marry. Right, sorry. He tried to look miserable, failed completely. The king whacked him with the stick again. It did not work. Yvonne was trying not to laugh. You're terrible at this. I don't care. I'm marrying you. At spear point. Best spears I've ever been threatened with. Another whack. The ceremony was brief, efficient. The priest of the North Star looked between them, the grinning groom, the laughing bride, the king with his walking stick, and decided not to ask questions. Do you, Antias of the Lakes, take this woman? Yes. I haven't finished. Yes. Whatever you're going to ask. Yes. The priest sighed. And do you, Yvonne of the Pass, take this man? Yes. To be You're not even letting me finish. Yes, anyway. The priest looked at the king. Are you sure about this? Completely. Continue. Fine. By the blessing of the North Star, I pronounce you married. Try not to embarrass yourselves. Antias kissed her before the priest finished speaking. Lord Redder applauded. Lady Lyanna looked amused. The signatures on the certificate were hastily scribbled, Antias with the walking stick still hovering over his head for show. The king lowered his walking stick only when the signing was done. Get out of the temple. Go home. Try to be respectable, he ordered. Yes, grandfather. And Antias? Yes? If you hurt her, I'll hunt you down myself. I'll come back from the grave and haunt you if I have to. Understood. Antias lifted Yvonne onto the bay horse, his last good horse, the one his father had ridden, and swung up behind her. The king called out after them. Wait! He gestured to a guard. He came forth with the same little chest Antias had brought to his study 3 days ago and strapped it behind the saddle. Her dowry. Do you think a king's ward is married off empty-handed? He smirked. Antias nodded. He understood. The chest contained the 100 gold pieces he'd paid for her. Well, a good bit more now, but they would not know that until they got home. It had never been about the money, just seeing what she was worth to him. There was another motive. The old king was a shrewd old bastard. The dowry was hers and she could do with it as she pleased. And he was, at the moment, a very poor knight indeed. He'd be the one asking. And lowering himself to ask was another test from the old king. Somehow he was not worried. He could take the jokes she would level at him. Where are we going? She asked. Home? To the estate. To the lakes. That house where I put you on the ground? Yes. It's quiet. Probably needs work again. I haven't been there much lately. And Lady Lyanna is right there too. You can expect her to wander over without warning for tea any time. Sounds perfect. He wrapped his arms around her, held her carefully, protectively. Are you sure? He asked quietly. About this, about me. She leaned back against him. I'm sure. Are you? Completely. They rode out of the city as the sun was setting, Sir Antias of the Lakes and Lady Yvonne, his lady, heading home. Together. Epilogue. The Crown and the Bells. Yvonne sat at the old king's bedside, 6-month-old Ania drowsing against her shoulder, 6-year-old Caspian clinging to her skirts. A daughter and a ward. 1 year ago today, the Jester had died. The old king was likely to die today too. Poetic, in a way. He'd appreciate that. You're still here, Torvin said. His voice was thin, tired. Where else would I be? Ruling, being queenly, terrifying the council. I did that this morning. They'll recover. She adjusted Anya carefully. Besides, I'm exactly where a dutiful queen should be, at her dying elder's side. He smiled. Faint. Never thought I'd see the day. My Jester, Queen of the North. Neither did I. It's the best joke I've ever told, even if only you and Antias know the punchline. Yvonne's throat tightened. It's a good joke. It is. He was quiet for a moment. I had no scruples, you know, marrying you off in a scandal like that. The succession was secure. Antias's risk, as the offspring of my youngest son, ending up with the crown was almost non-existent. Almost. Almost can't be trusted. His hand moved slightly on the blanket. Look at us. Here we are, Your Majesty. His laugh was weak but genuine. Here they were indeed. 11 months ago, the Crown Prince and his wife had died. A carriage accident on a mountain road, swift, brutal. The kind of tragedy that changed everything in an instant and brought Caspian into their household. 10 months ago, the old king had called the king trial. Antias did not want the crown, but his competitors wanted it even less and were not bound by any oaths to take it. Antias was, when they had ambushed him with it. He'd taken the crown. She'd become queen. In less than a year, she'd gone from the Jester cartwheeling through the great hall to wife to mother to queen. Gods had a terrible sense of humour. You find it funny, Yvonne said quietly, don't you? Hilarious. The old king's smile widened. My little Jester, bought for 50 gold, now Queen of the North. If that's not comedy, nothing is. I thought I had seen the worst the gods could throw at a man when my runaway daughter returned as Crown Princess of the South, Prince Heir of the South in tow, and her loyal knight riding the dragon he'd mated. But no, I had another slap coming. Gods have it in for me, I suspect. Seems so. Yvonne knew the story, though it had happened before she was bought. She had met all of them during the trial and found them to be wonderful people. Queen Yvonne, he said it slowly, savouring it, has a nice ring. Better than the Jester, I suppose. Different, not better. His eyes closed, opened again. You miss it sometimes, don't you? The bells. She didn't answer immediately. Couldn't. Because he was right. She missed it. The freedom, the invisibility, the ability to tell the truth and have everyone laugh. The crown was beautiful, heavy, restricting. The bells had been light. Sometimes, she admitted quietly. Good. Don't forget what you were, where you came from. His hand moved again, reached for hers. The best rulers remember they were human first. She took his hand carefully. I'll remember. Good girl. Caspian tugged at her skirt. Is grandfather going to die? Not today, Torvin said, voice stronger. Too stubborn. He was right. He didn't die that day, or the next week, or the month after that. He held on through winter, through midwinter celebrations and Ania's first attempts at standing up and Caspian's 6th name day. Held on until spring arrived with green shoots and warming winds, and then quietly, peacefully, he passed in his sleep. They found him in the morning, still, calm, finally at rest. The funeral was elaborate, grand, befitting a king who'd ruled for 40 years. The entire north came to pay respects. The night before the pyre was lit, Yvonne went to the cellar where the body was kept. She found Antias there, sitting beside the linen-wrapped shape on the stone slab. He asked for a favour, she said quietly. Last week, when we were alone. Antias looked up. What favour? She held up a small bundle, motley fabric, bells. He wanted to take the Jester with him. Understanding dawned in Antias's eyes. Yvonne? He was right. The Jester was his. They should rest together. She moved to the body and carefully tucked the bundled costume into the wrappings. The bells chimed softly. Once, then silence. There, she said. Together. The pyre was lit at dawn. The entire court gathered. Lords and ladies, common folk, everyone who'd known the old king. The body burned, smoke rising into the clear spring sky. And very faintly, as the flames grew, there was a sound. Bells. Tinkling, chiming one last time. Most people didn't notice, thought it was the wind, the fire, their imagination. But Antias heard it. He looked at Yvonne, saw the tears on her face, understood. She wasn't just mourning the king. She was mourning the Jester, the person she'd been, the life she'd left behind, the bells that had been so much lighter than the crown she now wore. He took her hand, squeezed gently. She squeezed back. They stood together as the pyre burned, king and queen, husband and wife. Inside they were still the knight and the Jester, but they both needed to be someone else now for the world. For now. Two people who'd never wanted crowns, wearing them anyway. Because sometimes gods had a cruel sense of humour, and sometimes you bore it with grace and grief and the knowledge that the people you loved had believed you could. The bells chimed one last time, then silence. Just the crackling of flames and the weight of iron crowns and the spring wind carrying smoke toward the sky. Yvonne closed her eyes. Goodbye, old friend. Goodbye, Jester. Rest well. The crown was heavy, but she would bear it. For Antias, for Anya, for Caspian, for the North, for the old king who'd bought a Jester and raised a queen, and for herself. The girl who'd learned that sometimes the greatest trick was surviving what fate threw at you, even when it threw a crown, and a kingdom, and a family, and a life you never expected. She opened her eyes. The pyre burned. The bells were silent. The queen stood tall, and somewhere she thought she heard laughter. A few years later, in a small roadside tavern near the southern capital, a middle-aged man was looking at a coin that a customer had just used to settle his tab with. A northern merchant. The coin was silver, new and untarnished. The coin had the queen on one side and the northern crest on the other. The man's eyes were fixed on the woman's face. Letters said, Queen Yvonne. "Mother!" He yelled towards the kitchen and a grey-haired woman emerged. He took her out into the sunlight before handing her the coin to examine. Her eyes weren't what they used to be. She took the coin and examined it. Her eyes went wide, and then she smiled softly. "This is not our story to tell. Keep it to yourself," she said to the man, handing it back. Adele had worried sometimes, when sleep would not come, what had become of the girl who had brought them this quiet life. Now she knew, and it was a relief. She was not sure she would have a happy or safe life as a queen, but she would definitely have enough to eat and a roof over her head. And that was perhaps enough for a skin and bones girl in rags she had convinced her husband to buy instead of a chicken to roast, because she could balance on a wobbly bucket to steal an apple and insult the merchant, who caught her so colourfully that the laughing man let her keep the stolen fruit. The end.